Alabama's on their way to play in the Rose Bowl against the Michigan Wolverines, a game we're going to preview. We're going to be talking about a lot between now and New Year's Day. But the awards have come out, and Alabama has been shut out. We're going to talk about that and why. And also, how about Florida State? Are they threatening not to play their bowl game because they got left and passed over for the college football playoff? It seems that could be the case. We're going to get into both of those things, but thanks for hanging out with us here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Let's get this thing going. Roll Tide. All right, there's the open. He's Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. This chat is real on the socials. I'm at Broadcaster Mick, and it's great to talk to you guys today as we are still kind of hanging out over the weekend and, the Heisman ceremony and all of that stuff. But we didn't have a guy in that. Jalen Milroe got some votes, and maybe he'll be one of the favorites for that next year. But let's talk about all the other awards. It's kind of a weird award season, Chad, when you don't see Alabama winning anything.
No. I'm still baffled. Not that Jalen Milroe deserved the Heisman. But, by the way, quick shout out on that. They did release the rankings 5 through 10, so you could kind of see everyone else or who just missed it. I was glad to see Jordan Travis up there. He deserved it. What a great year. I know, unfortunate that he broke his leg, but still an unbelievable year from a guy who had a lot of hype around him going into the season. He was 5th. And then Jalen Milroe was number 6 on the Heisman list. Mick, this is a guy that got benched in week 3. This is a guy who fans were wanting to know why he was on the field in week 2 after that first half against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who people said after last year's Texas A&M game, he would never see the field again as a Crimson Tide quarterback, wondering what position he's going to transition to or what school he's going to transfer to. And then he finished at number 6 in the Heisman ballot. What an amazing job by Jalen Milroe. Like really him or not, I know there's plenty of people in the comments and certain fans who, give him a hard time or don't like him, whatever. Hey, he was number 6 in the Heisman voting. Okay. He didn't do that by accident. But yeah, Alabama had 2 guys up as finalists. The Bednarik Award, which is for the linebacker or defensive player of the year. Sorry. Dallas Turner was up for that, lost to Peyton Wilson from NC State. There's nobody better than Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner's a freak, and then the one that's though mind-boggling is outstanding place kicker. And it's mind-boggling, Mick, because it's not that he didn't win this year. It's that he never won.
Right.
And that is the Lou Groza Award for our guy, Will Reichard, who came back for his senior year to get better, to get ready for the NFL. And he gets left out, and he loses to Graham Nicholson, Miami, Ohio, the Red Hawks, the Big Ben, Roethlisberger University Red Hawks. And Reichard loses to him. He did miss 3 field goals on the year. Nicholson missed, I think it was 1. But Reichard is the all-time NCAA scoring leader.
Yeah.
All time. So out of 4 years, it's like, okay, if one guy had slightly better percentages this year, I get it. Fine. Maybe out of this specific group in this specific year, but it's just hard for me to believe that out of 4 years, the NCAA points leader had somebody better than him every single year. Like at some point it had to happen, and he doesn't get it. And that's really frustrating. And also, like, you go to the secondary. Now you look at some others like interior lineman, quarterback, player of the year. I get it. We don't really have anybody there. Punter of the year, Burnip was not the guy that deserved to be in the top 3, in my opinion. Jace McClellan wasn't my guy for the Doak Walker. But how is for the Jim Thorpe Award, the best defensive back. Where's the love?
Yeah.
Like, Kool-Aid actually to me is not our best defender, but look at what Terrion Arnold did all year.
Right.
Like, how is one of them not up there? And I don't know, but I was just kind of frustrated. Like Alabama didn't get the love on the hardware.
I saw Milroe talking about the Heisman on the next round. And he basically was like, you know what, I'd trade all that for a team, winning a national championship. I think it motivates because this team's kind of been disrespected all year compared to Alabama standards. I mean, people were ready to bury these guys. And at the beginning of the season, I don't think it was crazy to think that the way that this team was playing. But, with all that said, you know what, being in the Rose Bowl against Michigan, it's going to be a great game, and I can't wait for it to get here. I am surprised that Alabama was left out of so many awards and didn't win anything. But there's a part of me that's like, you know what, just gives them a little bit more motivation to go out there and beat up on Michigan and try to win it all.
Well, I think that's the best point. And truly, none of us care if somebody wins a Heisman, or we don't care if you win the Maxwell Award. Nobody goes back. Like the Heisman's the only one that kind of stands by itself. Nobody looks back and is like, oh yeah, the Maxwell Award winner. Like it's nice in the moment, but it's not anything that in 10 years we're going to be like, hey, remember that year that so-and-so won the Maxwell Award or the Outland Trophy, or like, nobody's really going to remember or care, but they are going to care if you're hanging another year on the wall from where you win the national championship. And I think you're right, Mick. I think this is perfect for Nick Saban and the team. You get to take a step back and go, guys, what else is new? We suck. We were told we were dead. We were lucky. We needed a prayer in Jordan Hare, Booger McFarland. We were lucky to beat Georgia. We were fortunate. It was because McConkey and Bowers weren't 100%. We're just so lucky. The committee, it's a conspiracy. These are the speeches. Like it's easy. It's so much anti-rat poison that it's just easy for Nick Saban at this point to come up with the motivational speeches. Like, guys, everybody's told you all year you suck. Like, what's any different?
Yeah, right. You still got to go out there and prove yourself. And if you win 2 more games, you'll be forever known as one of the best college football teams in history. Now, all right, let me switch gears and talk about Florida State and Georgia. This would have been the best game besides the college football playoff. And in a way, I think it's a better game than the Texas-Washington game. Because Georgia, I still think if Georgia was in the playoff, they'd be tough to beat. And Florida State, obviously the crying and moaning for not getting in makes me think that this would be an opportunity for them to go prove themselves. But there's a lot of smoke right now, and they canceled one of the press conferences for the game.
Yep.
That Florida State might back out and not play. And I just find that awful, reprehensible. I think it's terrible.
Yeah,
if they did back out, not to miss the press conference, but obviously if they back out, that's.
Yeah. I mean, I just sit back and look at that. I'm just like, why? I mean, honestly, like, why? What good does it do? It's a no-win. I think of, I'm not trying to be political, but I just think of like protesters sitting in the middle of a street. Like, why? Like, just let the guy go to work. You're going to skip the Orange Bowl. Why? Like, for what reason? Because if you do, then like you're just looked at nothing but a little pouty baby. If you're that pissed and you're that motivated to show the world that you belong, go beat up Georgia. And if Georgia decides to rest players, so what? Just go beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can't beat them with their best players, nobody's going to give you any credit. Or if you can't beat them with their worst players or lesser players, nobody's going to give you any credit period. Like, you better go out there and at least, have a little pride, a little motivation. I don't know, but go out there. You know what? Do what Central Florida did. Go out there, give the world the middle finger, beat Georgia as a 2-touchdown underdog, and then go hang a fake banner at Doak Campbell Stadium.
Right. Or
Like,
maybe one of these publications will vote you college football national champions, depending
sure.
on how things. I mean, there were years where a lot of times where more than one team won. But this is what's wrong with everything in our world these days. You weren't good enough. I'm sorry. You just weren't. And you keep trying to tell yourself that you belong there, but you're not elite. You played a weak schedule. You don't have any, marquee wins. You're not better than the SEC. You're just not. Your 55th ranked schedule, you should have thought about that when you were scheduling. And instead of playing North Alabama, maybe you should have gone out and put somebody else on the schedule. Well, it's just the bottom line is that they're not that good. We watched them play. When you were struggling against Louisville, I get it. The committee gave you a false sense of security with that awful week after week, top 25. That was complete crap. And then when they had to correct it at the end, you got the rug pulled out from under you.
Yeah.
But to threaten not to play the game and all the money and there's millions of dollars wrapped up in this, and it's in your home state. It's one of the great bowl games in history. If that's what's really going on, that to me is kick them out of just kick Florida State clear out of college football, and those resources can go somewhere else. Because it's ridiculous. It is just ridiculous, man. I see this and I'm like, hey, if you're that good, just go win your football game. Look at Alabama did last year. They got left out, and then they had a similar matchup, and they kicked the crap out of the team that beat the team that they should have got in for. And that's why they got in this year. And you guys haven't been in the party in so long, nobody even knows who you are yet.
We mentioned that brand matters. I'm not saying that's fair, but it matters. Here's a couple of things. They did go schedule LSU, but the bigger point, and Bobby Bowden, the god of Florida State University, he mentioned it 8 years ago. He told Paul Feinbaum they didn't want to join the SEC. They didn't know if they could run through it. And that matters. It hurt you today. It was a decision made in the past where you could join the SEC that impacted you in the future. And part of your 55th strength of schedule is because your conference sucks. And I've had some people tell me, but they beat number 14 Louisville. It's not like they beat Duke for the ACC title. I got it, guys. But who is Louisville?
Right.
Like, who Iowa, do you realize Iowa was ranked number 16 when they played Michigan? Iowa was ranked number 16 when they faced Michigan because they had 10 wins. It was like by default.
Right.
There were teams with 9 wins ahead of Iowa. Everybody knew Iowa wasn't a good football team.
Yeah.
They're not good enough to beat Michigan.
Right.
Louisville is not a good football team, not great football team. It's not like they went and beat Georgia like Alabama did.
Right. They got beat by Kentucky. I mean, come on, man. Kentucky. And somebody said, little Kentucky, little Florida State. You'd be little Florida State in the SEC. You wouldn't be able to run through. Or maybe you could. Go beat Georgia and prove yourself. But
and you get into transitive properties. Bama beat Kentucky by 28. Kentucky beat Louisville. Florida State barely beat Louisville.
Right.
Like, yeah, if you want to get all transitive, because people were doing that with Bama and South Florida and all these other teams and games and whatnot. But it comes down to that. Florida State now all of a sudden may join a different conference. Like, I've seen some rumors out there where they're jumping at the opportunity to join the Big Ten all of a sudden. Like, it could happen pretty quick. I don't know how valid it is, but that's at least being kicked around out there. But when you look at the Noles, we've said it. It's very simple. They got left out for a multitude of reasons. If Jordan Travis hadn't gotten hurt, they would have been in the playoff. but you can't have that bad of a schedule. And I can't reiterate this enough. The committee told you in 2014, undefeated doesn't matter. They told you that 10 years ago, that undefeated doesn't matter. The reason they told you that is because they have 4 spots. How many Power 5 conferences are there for you, Mick?
Yeah, there's 5.
5.
Right.
So how do you have 5 undefeated conference champions in 4 spots? They told you from day one, not every conference is created equal. Because if it was, there would have been 5 spots in case you had 5 undefeated conference champions.
The bottom line is this:
left out.
Florida's that ACC is not a power conference anymore. It just
and
isn't.
The Big 12 isn't next year.
Yeah, right.
Look at the Big 12 next year.
Yeah, right.
Oklahoma and Texas leave.
And you guys went out and added SMU, Stanford, and Cal. I mean, come on, dude. All of you guys that have been commenting and stuff, give me a break, man. Go play some basketball. You're not even that good at that anymore.
Scholars Bowl is going to be a hell of a thing next year.
All right, Chad, tell us about Modern Lending.
Modern Lending, that's my mortgage company. I can say mine because I do own half of it. So we've been so literally lucky, fortunate, blessed. We appreciate everyone who's trusted us. We've helped over 10,000 families in 13 years, over $3 billion in mortgages over the last 13 years. We've just been, again, we take an approach where we literally sit down with you and tell you, hey, you shouldn't do anything right now. This is the perfect time to do it. Here's a different strategy. Here's probably what you haven't seen anybody else tell you or talk about. Here's something you won't find on the internet. We just kind of go through the whole thing, the whole process with you. Rates are dropping, and I'm telling you guys 2 things. 1, if you have credit card debt, you should refinance and get rid of that debt. It's horrible. Number 2, rates are dropping. As rates continue to drop, more and more people are going to come into play to buy a home, and you could get screwed because competition is going to increase. So buying sooner is a better idea if you can and if it makes sense than waiting. But reach out. Info's on the screen, chadanderson.info. Cell phone's there. Would love to chat if you'd like to.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you like and subscribe. Roll Tide.